Hello, my name is Wes Sampson. I'm a Level 2 representative with MetaLogix Software, and this is Session 7 of our MetaLogix 30-minute quick takes. And today we'll be looking at Content Matrix with InfoPath Forms. Our goal today is to review Content Matrix, InfoPath Forms, and how to migrate. We'll be looking at the difference between some of each InfoPath Forms. We'll also be looking on the Content Matrix console where to find these InfoPath lists and items in the Content Matrix, and some common issues, incorrect migration paths, and how to overcome some specific InfoPath setups, InfoPath publishing the content types, and where to store the template. It's a very common place where we have issues, and I will talk about a database connection as a source near the end. So that's the end of the slideshow. So let's get into the rest of this broadcast. So I have a couple of connections here. I'm using our latest version of the Content Matrix 7101, and in this specific site collection, I have an InfoPath. These are my site collections, source and targets. There's some difference between the two. But this is a site collection here that I've created that actually has a content type based site collection. So I'm going to open it up in Internet Explorer. I'm going to show you a couple different properties of this site collection. The first is basically where I am storing my forms template. I created a library called my forms library, and in here you can see that I have an XSN file here, travel preference.xml. The naming convention XML, it's a mistake on my part, but it is an XSN file. Another part I want to show you here is actually travel preferences is a list that I created that has the forms, and we'll take a quick look and we'll edit in the browser to see that's actually a very simple form here. It says bill and date time, which is a sample. Now I'm going to show you in the library settings that is based off of a content type. As you can see that I have a travel preferences content type that I created. If I check on this and then advanced settings, you can see that the URL that it's pointing to is pointing to my forms library, and the travel preferences XSN, again XML, it's just a naming convention that I use. The XML does not mean anything in this case. So I'll go back to the Content Matrix and bring up my actual site. Now this is where I copied it to. As you can see, I'm going to show you in the different portions here. See, my forms library actually, if you go to the items view, does have that XSN in there. Same where I copied it to. Also down below, my travel preferences with 3 items. And this is my target, which I migrated earlier on, travel preferences with 3 targets. Again, I'll take a look at the actual source. You can see that they're using a new site collection, demo InfoPath, instead of the actual InfoPath demo. So this is my target. Again, we can take a look at the files itself, and you can see that it migrated the forms successfully over. But what I want to show you is that in the library settings, again, it copied over the travel preference content type. And in the advanced settings, you can see that the actual site collection is demo InfoPath, and it is pointing to the my forms library. Again, you can see the spaces are presented at 20:0, but you can see it is still pointing to that XSN that was copied over successfully. Now, the reason I'm telling you this is because content type we see a lot of customers come in with content type issues when they're doing content type InfoPaths. The majority of the time, the reasoning is that a lot of people, well, not a lot, but some of the people will actually put, if you go into the lists here and you take a look at, let me find the right one here, all files, My Forms library. You can see that it's in the root of the My Forms library. What happens is if you actually put it in the Forms library, the content matrix will not copy that over as it's used for other purposes, basically the editing the pages of it itself. So sometimes we have customers that will actually place this XSN file into the Forms library, and that can cause issues with the migration. That's a very common problem. So let's take a look at a different type of, so I'll just close IE here. Now we'll take a look at a different type of InfoPath. So right here we have a custom list. Basically, I created a custom list. We'll open it up in IE. Again, it's 3 items. I created the custom list. We open up the custom list. Edit. Now this is form. Very simple form. Where I'm located. I created a couple extra here. And we'll actually do a migration of this. So we'll do the migration of this right now, as this is basically just a custom form with the Forms library inside. And click copy the list, and I have a new site collection that I created, which has nothing in it. Basically, it's a blank team site. So I'll go ahead and just paste the list itself. We'll do a full copy of the list. Now this is where we want to make sure, this is the very important portion, is to copy the customized form pages. If you do not have this selected, the forms will not come over. And the InfoPath basically will be broken through in the copy. Really in this copy, I'm not going to copy any of the other permissions and mappings, as it doesn't pertain to this specific issue. I'm going to make sure that I enable text field link correction, just in case there's any text fields that need to be corrected. In my case it does not, but in your case it may, so it's always good to have that selected. So we'll go ahead and run the copy. The copy was successful. It copied the template.xsn. And if we take a look in here, customize list, as you can see, everything has been copied over, and the form is copied over correctly. Now, if we take a look at SharePoint Designer and take a look at this custom list, you'll see that the template.xsn, when the form was created, is actually in the items folder, which is basically a hidden folder in the list. So it's a little different in the content type InfoPath form, where it's actually set up in the actual library itself, document library itself. So we'll close this up. Now this one here, sports. This is using a connection type here. So let's take a look. This is using a data connection. As you can see that I have one item in here, and we'll edit it. Actually, edit in the browser. As you can see, I set it up with a data connection to leagues and teams and sports. So NHL, Toronto Maple Leafs. I'll just close out of here. We'll add a new one. And use NBA and Chicago Bulls. So I'm going to also do a copy of this one as well. This time we're actually going to do it on the actual site level. And I'm going to overwrite this existing site. So I'm going to paste all site to all content and all site content. Again, we want a full copy, and then site options, content types. Site options, everything here looks normal, but the main portion here that we want to set up is the copy to customized form pages. Again, if this is not set up, you will have issues with migrating this over. Okay, we're not using any managed metadata or permissions, just to make the copy a lot quicker. So we'll go ahead and, again, if you guys have any questions, you can put them in the questions dialog in the webinar, and I will answer them after this is completed. So we'll let this go through. As you can see, it's copying the InfoPath items connection. Corrector. And really it only errors, there's no errors. There is some content types that are read-only. So as you can see, the read-only, and this is a normal error that you receive when copying basically a bunch of content types. If they already exist, they're sealed or read-only on the actual source or target. These can be safely ignored. So now let's take a look at the site itself. Again, I'll go to all site content. We'll go to our forms library sports and edit in the browser. As you can see, it's there and migrated over successfully. We'll also add another one here. NASCAR. Yes. Joe Gibbs. Racing. Submit. And the form is there. Now really what we really want to concentrate on is the content type based format. InfoPath Forms, when they're just a custom list or library, you can copy them, basically just right click and copy the list and then migrate it over. But when they're actually in located in two different areas, basically the forms in the My Forms library here, and the actual form itself, the list that the form has been published to is here. You need to do it with a site copy, and you have to make sure, again, inside it's inside the inside. It's not actually in the forms library itself. Other than that, that's all I have here for today. I have one more thing. In our previous versions of Content Matrix, you cannot migrate InfoPath Forms from a database connection. So as you know, you can actually connect to a database. We'll skip that for now. But in our latest version, 7.1.01, I've been informed that now you can. So you can actually take a look at some of the site collections I have here, and you can migrate through them now. We have made that possible in 7101. So that's the end of my presentation. 15 minutes of showing this, and next 15 minutes for any questions that anybody has. So I will see what you have for questions. Yes, the first question is, InfoPath can be used in many ways. Is there any limitations to migrating InfoPath forms, or is it all based on how the form is copied? Basically, it is based on the form it's copied. Let's say, for example, you have a form, let's say in this subsite, but it's referring to a list in this top-level site. Let's say it's referring to this shared documents for some reason, and you actually have it inside the InfoPath form is inside the subsite, or even this subsite. What you need to make sure is that the reference list or library is actually copied over to the target already, and basically in the same directory format, or there can be issues. So the best bet to do it, if you have an InfoPath form, let's say in this subsite here, and there's a reference list here, you may want to start to copy from here on. Some of the questions here, just give me a few moments. Okay, the forms folder is the normal location for, this is another question here. The forms folder is in the normal location for the template.xml. Most of our templates are there. When we migrate to SharePoint 2013, will the form/template.xml be copied? Again, as I said earlier on, no, it won't. I would recommend for this particular issue, you may want to call our support to see what we can do for you there. Okay, one question here is, how about the huge list view items for InfoPath Forms is going to be copied? I have seen some issues. The huge list, I'm not really sure what you mean there by issues. Again, if you have issues with a large amount of items in a list, you may want to call our customer care on this. And set up a ticket. Next question is, it looks like we are seeing that after the migrations, forms need to be republished to the new URL. We do select the link parameter in Content Matrix. Is there some way to fix this? Again, if you're having issues with the migration, we'd gladly take a look at if you want to create a case on this. I have seen cases where republishing the form does work, but theoretically our software should be able to fix this, and we would be able to help you troubleshoot this. Quick question of, does the same apply migrating InfoPath forms from SB 2007 to 2013? Yes, I'm going from 2010 to 2010 in the same farm here, but yes, it does pertain from going to 2007 to 2013. Another question here is, why might some forms migrate with the template link not corrected on the target site? Well, it could be a case of in general options that possibly, well, by default, enable link correction is set. In older versions of product, I've seen that where you can actually unselect this. It could be that this is completely unselected. Again, if you're having issues with the link correction portion, theoretically, that shouldn't be a problem. I haven't seen it myself, but you can contact our customer care and we can definitely take a look into that. Another question, do you know any limitations in terms of large items? Really, there should be no limitation in terms of large items. That would be more not really an InfoPath question. If you have large InfoPath forms, I haven't seen them very large myself, unless there's maybe attachments in the items itself. And then there may be an issue with how your target is configured. Again, if you have issues with large items itself, you may want to give us a call or take a look at our knowledge base. Okay, one question is, when will we not check the customized forms, copy customized form box in the demo? Well, basically, if you do not want to copy the customized forms, if you leave that selected, there would be no harm. But some of our code, we give that option if you do not want to copy the customized form. There's a question here, what is the general rule for use? I'm not 100% sure what that question means, but if you want to take a look at the help file, and just select copy dialog. Maximize this a bit, and you can see that every option is on this page, and it describes everything through it. Hopefully that's more assistance for you for that particular question. Another question is, with regards to link correction, would it matter what connection type you use for the migration? Well, theoretically it could. If you were using a source database connection and not actually, and it may not be just because of link correction, it may be because of the database connection. Source database connection on a version lower than 7.1.0.1, there can be issues itself. Really, if you use the MetaLogics, you should be using either a database connection for the source, a local OM connection, or the MetaLogics web extensions. Same thing for the target. You should be, well, for the target, you cannot use a database because we won't, but you should be using either a local connection or the MetaLogics web extensions. If you're using the native web service adapter, that can cause issues. It has limited functionality. We really don't recommend using it if possible. Is it possible to migrate SharePoint 2007 workflows that are associated with an InfoPath library to SharePoint 2013? Yes, it definitely is possible. Okay, that seems to be the end of the questions. This will be posted to our website for additional viewing in our knowledge base, and I hope everybody found this informative, and have a good day.